And Austin, how's it going at Tabarwa in LA?
Going pretty well. Um, just driving for homes rounds, anticipating those days, doing what I can to help clean up the facility. I don't know if you're aware, but it's changing hands soon, so we're trying to get it cleaned and prepared for that.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Austin is staying at one of my teacher's temple in Los Angeles and volunteering and practicing meditation there at this time. That's right, Austin. We will be getting a new property, selling that one
Yes,
and getting a new one. So maybe you will move along with that.
yes, I went with Seattle when he
Yeah.
was here to look at these facilities, so.
And Austin, they they live streamed the interview that you had with Seattle on
Oh,
Facebook.
I did not. I did not
So
know that.
I wanted to I wanted to ask, will it be okay with you if I share that with our group?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll make a kind of a YouTube video with that uh, in the
Sure, that
future.
would be good.
All right,
It
welcome.
is.
Oh, go ahead, Ethan. Or sorry, Austin.
Oh, I was just going to say that it is nice to have a an actual temple in which to meditate. Um, uh, the soft cushions on which to sit, and it's a nice environment.
Welcome, Luke and Michael, Mixie, One, Moon, and Lien Hien, and Janai. And hello, Mana.
Hello.
There's a lot of power, a lot of support that comes along with the physicality of being at a temple or meditation center or being with the spiritual community in person. So I'm glad you can experience that right now, Austin.
Well, I'm good then. If I just share it.
Hello, Karina and Caroline and Gloria. Glory, glory, hallelujah, right? Okay. And Simcha, hi there.
Hello.
So I think for this time that we have together, I'd like to leave the space open and see if there are some questions that come up or some sharing of experience. Not so much to transact or interact, but more like an offering. We offer out our experience. And the same with a question that we might have, that spirit of generosity or that spirit of sharing is also in the question. We can look at this almost as a practice of meditative inquiry, so that through these good conditions we have right now to be mindful and to feel the depth of mindfulness, what comes up, what experience is there, what question may be there um, that you would like to ask, not from the reactivity, not from this like intellectual prodding or curiosity, but really from your experience, what question arises. And you may also like to share something. So let's start with 3 sounds of the bell, and then the space is open for us to practice mindfulness, to really arrive, to feel the support of the Sangha, the community support to meditate and just nourish ourselves with mindfulness and presence. And then it'll also be open if we want to share or ask a question to connect in another way. Let's listen to 3 sounds of the bell. So, for those people who just joined, our practice right now is to really nourish ourselves on that mindfulness and the energy of the Sangha, the community. And within that space of nourishment and kind of letting the insight of mindfulness penetrate us, that if there is a question that comes out of that or a experience that comes out of that, that the space is open for us to share.
I would just like to say to Austin that I'm very, very happy to know that you're in a temple, and it makes me a lot of joy to know that. That's it.
Yeah, thank you. It is a good experience. Many opportunities to do good here.
Austin, if you're comfortable, maybe you could share a little bit about your experience so far, as much as you're comfortable to, in relationship to our Sangha here and where you're at now. What led to this
Sure.
point?
Yeah, so originally I found this Sangha space through TikTok and then through the Discord. Um, and after a little more than a year of participating in these calls and learning about various mindfulness practices and things, sort of principles like precepts, I was in Detroit looking for work and living in my vehicle. And I was aware of this location and had thought about it before. Um, but I got in contact with Fonte and was able to come out here. And since being out here, um, it is a temple, so there is a Dharma hall where I can go and meditate anytime I need quiet or peace. Um, but every morning, the nuns go on what is called alms round, um, which they walk around and let people be generous and give freely to them. And for these rounds, oftentimes they are far from the Tabawa location, so they need a driver. So I will drive them to these locations, but also they have given me the opportunity to participate, so I can be free to walk with them and hold a collection container, and people will be generous and come up and donate. Um, and so this is good. It's nice to have opportunities every day to do good, um, to earn merit, especially because of the situations like in Gaza and in Myanmar, where we can share this merit that we earn with those people in that situation and hope that they can be their their hardships can be lessened a little bit, maybe. As much as maybe it can be hard to be sleeping in your car in the cold here in America, we're not worried about bombs falling and destroying our homes. There's no war going on here, so it can be good to try to help them either by sharing merit or maybe by getting donations of things and then sending them to those locations. Good.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Austin. Some may be new to know about my teacher's group or organization, but he is the really kind of engaged Buddhism or social work monk. And so his current work is mainly in Myanmar through a lot of the donation and support of the community there. He is able to build the Dhamma Hospital or the Merit Bank or housing and shelter for those who are hopeless and helpless. And Myanmar is quite a poor country, so his capacity, what he can do is materially is limited, but what he can do in terms of making merit or teaching or kind of the opportunities he can give and is giving are quite limitless. So the opportunity to do good deeds, the opportunity to donate, the opportunity to volunteer, to live as a yogi, a monk, or a nun. And we have one center in Italy and also, well, two center in Italy, one in the north and one in the south, and about 10 center in Thailand, and in Myanmar, maybe more than 100 center. He really, one of the more famous and well-known monk in Myanmar for his work. But in America, there is not so much of the necessary support or conditions to build many meditation center. That is his wish. That is also my wish. But the current functioning of Tabarwa in America at the Los Angeles Center, where Austin is staying, is can be for people to stay who need support or help, housing and protection, but it's mainly used as a kind of donation center. So many of the material objects that we have here in America, like furnitures or plastics or all kinds of things that maybe you find at Goodwill that we have in abundance here, and they are not so valuable here. In Myanmar, they have a lot of value. These various things, also medical supplies. So in the LA Center, they will gather many material donations, kind of like what you'd find at Goodwill, really. And then they arrange for a shipping container, and they will send that to Myanmar, and then those donation will be redistributed. And we've also recently, because of the crisis in Myanmar, the really difficult situation there, now in this time, we have sold the retreat center, one of the retreat center we had in Lake Elsinore, California, and then also selling this current property that that Austin is staying at. And a lot of those, the profits from those sales will be used for the situation in Myanmar or the other work that my teacher is doing. So it's a really interesting kind of bottom-up approach where we start by helping the people that are most in need. We start by doing the good deeds that maybe other people don't want to do or are unwilling to do. And then from the merits accumulated by doing good deeds that other people wouldn't do, don't dare to do, there is a more and more opportunity for us to help, to bring benefit, and to develop for all. From my understanding, from my experience, many people may want to live a spiritual life, but may not be able to meditate for whatever reason. And the Tabarwa model, or doing good deeds model, means that those people can focus on making merits. And in the process, they can also help the others. We have some technical situation with Discord. Oh, I think Discord itself might be going through some kind of technical issues. Everyone on YouTube can still hear me? Hello? Oh, yeah, must be some kind of Discord outage. The great Discord outage of 2023. So we can come back to, stay with our mindfulness, our mindful breathing. Yeah, just technical issues on Discord. So this is such a major part of our life and our experience. We get settled, we get comfortable at a particular place, and we have expectations that are seen to be something that perpetuates our peace or a certain quality of life. But actually, those expectations can limit our capacity to find joy in what is available to us now. How much joy can we find in this present moment breathing, present moment experiencing? And it's experimentation, it's exploration. I am, as a teacher or a facilitator or as a guide, even if I was leading like a formal meditation retreat, it's just like someone who is leading others on a trail, right? Up a mountain or through some kind of journey. We don't know what's going to happen, and that person, even though they've been on that trail many times or they have had the guidance of trail masters, right? Cannot control the weather, cannot control all the variables. So we walk together, we practice together. And we support each other to stop, support each other to step on the brakes, to find the breathing, to detach, to refresh, restart, let go of whatever it is we are involved with. Dropping all expectations. Not knowing or only don't know, but that is a supporting condition for compassion. That is a supporting condition for mindfulness. That is a supporting condition for healing. We don't know. That's an invitation for practice, not for assumption, not for grasping, not for clinging to a view. Also, not clinging to a method, but knowing how to use the methods that are available to us, how to use our present moment breathing, how to use our heart beating as a place to put our awareness to enjoy breathing. Enjoy the body, the here and now. Okay, it looks like we are back up on Discord. I think there is a place for the how and the why, right? There is a place for figuring things out or having a roadmap or having a clear direction to go in, having a systematic approach. There's certainly a place for that, but there's also a place for none of that. That breathing is enough, seeing is enough, hearing is enough to awaken our penetration into peace or freedom. Just spacelessness. We don't always have the good conditions for that kind of spacious mind, that open mind, right? That vivid, direct experiencing mind. So when it's there, why are we trying to figure out the path ahead or what destination we're going to get to or how things are going to go in a certain way, or even who our teacher is or where we're at, or what and why and how and all that, just to put it all down, to practice. And this is an insight. We can practice with that insight, but don't confuse the practice for the wiggling of a cat's tail. meaning don't give special importance to anything. Detach from the specialness given to anyone or anything or any place or any time or any experience. That doesn't mean that we're not cooperative or practical. That doesn't mean that we grasp onto this thing and reject the other. It means fire is hot and water is wet. And that this is it. So let's listen to a sound of the bell, and then we'll kind of retune into our meditative inquiry, meditative sharing, and also have the space open for more question or sharing something. I think it can seem like mindfulness somehow is boring or leaving out so much of life, like closes us in. But for me, it is the clearing out of my preconceptions about myself and the world. Mindfulness is like this icebreaker of that closedness, that ricketiness, that fear that I have about change. So when I bring my concentration to my mindfulness, it's not as an act of force or control, but it's an act of intimacy and willing to be vulnerable to everything that's being experienced right now. And I find a lot of curiosity in that and also a lot of gratefulness. And this quality of huh, what? That not knowing, that shift, like a cat turning its head out of curiosity. And that the object of curiosity is not someone, is not something, is not an expectation. It's not a form of some kind, but it's this boundlessness, this openness, this vividness of experiencing itself that's even beyond the faculties of this body. How much my being can expand into that. Freedom from form. And if you are not here in the Discord, you can share your question or your experience just by writing a comment or whatever is necessary. Real mindfulness has its roots in detachment. Just like real generosity is an act of detachment, it's an act of forgiveness. Also, mindfulness is like that. Don't just stay where you are. Don't just do what seems to be the thing to do. Abandon your life. And that is really the real present moment action of mindfulness, is an act of everything forgiving everything, everything abandoning everything. It's a finishing, it's an ending, it's a renewal, it's a baptism. Each action of mindfulness. And if you know that that is your real nourishment, and what can change you and help you and drive you and fix you, go and get fixed. Don't wait for the tires to, don't wait until you're driving on rims. Not everybody has the good resource, the good condition to know about the Dhamma, to know about the Buddha, to know about the Sangha, to know about spiritual life, real spiritual life. So don't wait. Give up everything. Forgive everything. Abandon everything. Now there's two extremes in that. One extreme is the grasping extreme, where you're kind of protesting against detachment, or you're protesting against letting go of everything. When really it's up to you. What do you want to do? Nobody needs to speak up on behalf of desire or attachment. It's got a lot of energy behind it, trust me. And the other side is seeing this act of renunciation, or this act of abandoning everything, giving up everything, as having something to do with you. This solid self that gives everything up, and then something, you're thinking about what you're going to get from it, rather than your willingness to give everything up. The middle path is that we understand our capacities. We look clearly at our situation, and then we take steps to free ourselves from our addictions, from our wrong thinking, from our wrong lifestyle, from our wrong actions. And those steps need to be practical and grounded in generosity and grounded in the understanding of merit. Money isn't going to help you. For most people, it doesn't have anything to do with money. And your ego, or you getting what you want, is the root of the problem. So you're not going to use the root of the problem and think that that's somehow going to be the solution, that you ideally getting what you want is going to solve some problem. We need to become like the drowning person that isn't lost in their fear, their anxiety, their disturbance, but rather be like the drowning person who recognizes that they are drowning. And then what do you reach out for? Do you reach out for your fear? Do you reach out for your grasping? Do you reach out for more water? Or do you touch the stability that's accessible to you? That is the present moment action of mindfulness, for sure. But it's also the emanations of mindfulness. It's also the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. This isn't a nihilist group. Everything is empty, everything is nothing. That's not the practice. This is a Buddhist informed meditation community. We say everything is nothing. And then, we just find ourselves in this dull, kind of confused state and wonder, well, what do I do next? We are supported by not just our biological ancestors, we're not just their continuation, but we're also our continuation of our spiritual ancestors. And just in the same way that our body is a kind of material continuation of their wisdom, their skillfulness, their compassion, the life that they lived, which we are a continuation of. But for our spiritual ancestors, we are also a continuation. We are supported by their insight, their communities, their practices that have been established. So we don't need to be fearful about practicing seriously. We don't need to be fearful about taking refuge in the community. But we also don't need to see ourselves as someone who's on the sidelines. We should get involved to the extent of our capacities to heal, to empower, to develop, because the world needs it and suffering people need it. Okay, Memory Gray on YouTube asked a question. How to break the habit of being a self? We don't have to break the habit. Just have to recognize what our true self is, and that's not intellectual, that's not theory, that's not a story, and it's not in some faraway place. It's our present moment action of mindfulness. It's using our gut. It's using our intuition. And it's especially our willingness to detach from that habit of being a self or the appearance of being a self. And that's very much about our willingness to forgive everything and to give up everything, to give away everything. That is through our present moment action of mindfulness, but that's also doing good deeds continuously, more and more. That's also renouncing. And it's also supporting renunciates, supporting this lifestyle of renunciation. Supporting because a lot of we're not going to make old people young again. We're not going to make the elderly young again. So we support renunciation in those people. We support detachment in those people, right? We all know the stories of people who, have terminal cancer or something like that, and then the medicines that they take, right? The system of approach of killing the sickness puts them in a position where the last years of their life are just miserable suffering, trying to get rid of sickness. We can't get rid of sickness. We can't get rid of old age. You can't get rid of death. But we can support a awareness of the nature of impermanence. We can support those people to detach. The same with us, solving our psychological problems or our sufferings or the suffering of the world. We can support ourselves and the world to detach, to abandon, to forgive, to set down. And what we do, that's what we get back. So if we can detach from those traumas, if we can give them up, not reject them, but forgive them, forgive that psychological situation, forgive that fear, forgive that anger, forgive those mistakes, then those mistakes will also forgive us. Those mistakes will also detach from us. And we can do this not just through theory, but we can do this through we must do it through our practices of building community, building Sangha, because it's what I need, it's what you need, probably. You wouldn't be here otherwise. It's what we need as a people. We need Sangha. We need a well minded community of practitioners. We need to know how to support each other in all kinds of ways. So we get involved as practically as we can in this, and then the results will be as practical as they need to be or as possible. And then, at least when we are getting stuck or confused or lost in what we do, it will be concerned with the truth. It will be concerned with mindfulness and detachment. It will be concerned with doing good deeds. And we are safe in that. We are protected in that. We're not safe or protected in trying to make money or become important or powerful or become knowledgeable about a certain topic. But we are safe in our intention to help, to bring benefit, to do good, to be mindful, to detach. And the big mind knows and experiences that this isn't just about me. It's not just about my suffering. It's not just about my hunger. It's not just about my thirst. It's about the world. It's about everyone. It's about everything. So we decouple, and we have the good conditions, many of us, right? Me as a monastic, but some of our other community members is having, good environment and excess resources, right? To donate, to support, to volunteer. So we decouple, we detach from this self-fixation that somehow it's really all about me, and we incorporate our awareness into the offering out and the sharing out and the giving away towards all beings, which we are not separate from. This self-fixation, self-identification on this body, this mind, this time, this environment is not, it's not very reliable. So we learn through our practice of generosity, of doing good deeds more and more, of mindfulness and the insight of mindfulness, detachment, to understand very clearly that our wealth is not in ourself. Our wealth is in not being anyone. And in that insight, that mindfulness, there's many opportunity to help, to take care. Because that's our insight. We can offer that insight out, but we can't control other people's minds. We can't give them that insight. So we widen out, we share out, we offer out, we help out. And this is a good practice methodology, especially for serious cases, deep suffering. These people need to get to work, doing good deeds. Being in a community of mindfulness, being protected, for them to develop and not just be stuck in these interpersonal things. Mildred on YouTube said, "Are doing good deeds a responsibility? If you want to have happiness in your life, then you need to prioritize doing good deeds, not good business practices. Money doesn't bring happiness, for sure. And responsibility is opportunity. A lot of us, we don't have enough responsibility, or we have responsibility just for ourselves. And it leads to, doing good things and taking care in a good way. But ultimately, it's just feeding that self-fixation, that false view of someone in particular. So responsibility is opportunity, but opportunity for what? Responsibility for what? For me, I have had a lot of great success getting more responsibility concerned with the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, concerned with making merit, concerned with mindfulness, concerned with detachment. Don't get attached to Buddhism. Don't get attached to the idea of monasticism. Don't get attached to your capacity to wake up, or maybe that your innate nature is freedom or peace right here and now. Don't get attached to that, but know how to use it. If someone told you to know how to use, um, pieces of gold that you had around you, you wouldn't say, well, that's just kind of in the air. What's gold anyway? So, in the same way, when it comes to Buddhism, when it comes to the Sangha, when it comes to community building, when it comes to the what the monastic ideal or what the monk life represents, which is our willingness and our clear seeing of the validity of working for virtue, working for merit and insight rather than working for money, just material. But these things aren't separate, they go together, they support each other. We need to know how to use all of this, not just for ourselves, but for all. And it's very experimental, it's very open. The more that we invest, the more that we make ourselves a stakeholder, the more that we take responsibility. And my teacher has said, and I kind of agree, I like to work with this, the greatest good deed is meditation, or the greatest good deed is mindfulness and detachment, the action of mindfulness. And we can certainly take the word from Ajahn Brahm, kindfulness. When we're meditating or when we get into this practice, we're kind of dredging the soil so things come up that maybe otherwise wouldn't, or we wouldn't notice them coming up, whether it's anger or fear or anxiety, etc. So when that comes up, how do we apply ourselves? What's our meditation? It's kindfulness, not just to be aware, but to exercise that strength of kindness, that mental fortitude, that bravery of kindness towards suffering, that meditation of kindness towards someone that's annoying us at that moment, and maybe we can't change it so much or solve it so much, or that kindness to our feeling of loss, and to exercise it. Okay, Austin, it's open.
So, in my experience, expectations are not reality. Um, I came here expecting to stay here for many, many months to practice and hopefully pursue monastic life. Um, but then I learned that the facility will be sold uh, even sooner than expected. So it's okay to have expectations and to kind of have an idea, but it's, I think, important not to hold on to these expectations and get upset if things do not go the way you expected. And this can apply even as simply as, I think, with meditation. Maybe some people have trouble sitting still for long times when they first start, or really anything. It it's okay, and maybe not so good to get upset with yourself because you're not meeting your expectations. Um, just like I said, expectations are okay to have, but it's important to recognize when things are not as expected and to let go of that rethink. That's all.
feel we need enough patience to allow our expectations to kind of fizzle out, calm themselves down. And in that, we may not just get kind of what we were looking for, or in general what's pleasing to us or pleasant, but we may actually find like something that's deeper than our desire. Or deeper than our expectation, right? More nourishing to us than our expectation.
Ante, I'm having a change of event going on. I just need for you to hear this and give me an explanation what's going on. When I meditate, I notice when I come back around, so much time have passed by, and it seemed like I was just meditating for a few minutes, but I have experienced 45 minutes loss of time to an hour. And today was different. When I got up before work, I was meditating, and it wasn't dark anymore. It was things going on. I saw in the meditation, I was in a place watching explosions, but I didn't wake up. I stayed in that meditation, and it was a 45 meditation. And I thought I was just going to do it for at least 10, 20 minutes. But it was things going on, and it had coloring, yellowish, gray, but it was like things exploding. And I was watching it from a distance. And I still sometimes try to figure out what was that. I know it wasn't a dream or anything because I was aware of my breathing.
Right. So Gloria, this is really what we're here for. Serious practice. This is what the Sangha is here for. This is what the Dhamma is here for. This is what the Buddha represents. The Buddha was a serious practitioner. So before the Buddha became enlightened, the story is that he was a great prince, and he was being prepared to be the king. And going out, he saw all this suffering, that sickness, old age, death, just in the people of his population that he had been shielded from up until that time. So a spark arose in him, and he said, the way that I'm living doesn't show me the truth, or doesn't give me freedom from these experiences that are bound to happen. So I need to be free. I need to know the root. I need to not be under the control of these things that I saw, right? Or that I experienced. So the Buddha shaved his head and left this castle, went out on his own, right? And there was already tradition of spirituality in ancient India. So there were many meditation masters. There were many sadhus or renunciates or monks, but more wandering. There was less infrastructure for them at that time. So the Buddha met with multiple meditation masters and practiced very seriously and attained very deep, special experiences of meditation. And he also practiced extreme asceticism. So he would not eat anything for a very, very long period of time. He would lay out in the Indian sun, like the desert sun, without any protection on his body, and just like cook. And eventually he sat under the Bodhi tree, made this resolution that no matter what happens, I will sit here until I get it, until I'm free, until I'm not burdened or influenced or under the power of phenomena, things that come up and go away, right? Until I know the truth. So he sat there with this great resolve and then woke up. He said, I got it. I'm free.
So where am I headed? Because the first time I realized, I think it was this past weekend, I can't remember what day, when I came around, an hour had passed and it just seemed like I was just meditating for 5 or 10 minutes. And that kind of scared me for a minute, but I let it go. I said, what happened with the time? I stopped worrying about it. I detached from it. And every time I do it, uh, uh, time passed. But today was different.
Can you
Time did pass, but I saw things.
describe your meditation method?
Um, Relaxing. I relax because you know what I do. I make sure that I'm relaxed, so anything that comes up, I'm able to uh, manage my emotions. I just relax my whole body. Sometime to get into that, when I'm breathing, a lot of things may come past my mind, but I start meditation into the here and now. But it was all dark until today. It wasn't dark at all. It was things going on.
Right. So,
I wasn't afraid, but I was trying to figure out what is that? What is the message here?
yeah.
Should I worry about that?
No, no, no. So, when we start to practice seriously, we will have a different experience, right? So, for if you start to jog or run, you become more physically active, right? At the beginning, when you're jogging or running or whatever it might be, you're quite tired after a minute, after 2 minutes, right? And your perspective on jogging is very related to that, right? It's this kind of small minded perspective based on your capacities, on how much effort you've put forth to jog. The more we put into meditation as an exercise, the more our view, our understanding about meditation widens. So you're going through that right now. You're practicing a little bit more seriously, and your perspective about the mind is going to widen. But the main point here is that as seriously as you want to get about meditation, the Sangha is here to support you for sure, right? In all kinds of ways. And that can be attending a meditation retreat. That can be, connecting with more teachers or listening to more Dhamma talks from people who are more experienced than you or me, right? And this all becomes more accessible the more that when we meditate, it's a kind of great generosity. We're giving up our life. We're giving up our choices. We're giving up our picking and choosing, and we're just opening, right? So the more that you do that, the more support you're going to be able to receive. The more Dhamma, truth teachings, truth saying that you'll be able to receive deeply. Okay? As it happens with seeing things or hearing things, just be mindful. Just be mindful.
I didn't hear anything. What I saw was clouds, dust, explosion, um, and the explosion, it was at a distance, but it had color, you know.
We
And as I came around, I just let it go because I said, well, I, I just didn't understand it, and
right.
I didn't have time to focus on it, trying to figure out what was that.
Don't don't diminish any importance that you give to it, but also don't add any importance to it. and continue practicing. Okay? If we have some kind of phenomena come up in our mind when we meditate, uh, just be mindful. And if it is very simple, you can maybe put your concentration there. If it's very, very simple. But if it has some degree of complication to it, then you want to just come back to your breathing and relax, the restart and the refresh. It's like a stretch, right? When we stretch, we want to feel, you got to feel something when you stretch, you're not really stretching. But the moment that you kind of get overly excited, right? And now you're pushing into a stretch. You can overstretch, or you pull something, right? That's not the point of stretching. So just watch it like that. And just like sometimes we may have a dream that's pleasant or unpleasant, or meaningful or not meaningful, gives us an insight or not, we don't need to carry it around with us. We come back to the wakefulness, come back to the mindfulness. Okay? And don't work with it too much, because we also don't want to take, but I mean that by, we don't want to take importance away from it either. We don't want to interfere with it too much, because interfering with it gives it this um, extra layer of significance. And it's neither less or more significant. It's just, here we are. And that's a kind of reminder of, oh, that the interest or the curiosity or the deepening, the opening. But that's also just natural. So don't interfere with it too much.
I think about it again because today I was very busy. My client was very depressed. So I didn't think about it to just being here at right now. And I'm like, oh yeah, let me find out what is this going on, because there's changes
It
in
is
my
normal.
meditation.
It is normal, and it's good. It sounds good, but the best you can do is just to continue practicing as you have been, simply and stably. If you want to make any adjustment, it just, maybe your posture can be a little bit more upright, or you can do some more walking meditation, especially, is very good. I don't know how much I've recommended in our group, but you can get the Plum Village app on your phone. Plum
Yeah.
Village app. And there's some great talks by another Western monastic, Tefop Lu. He's a longtime monastic, and he gives instructions on walking meditation, and that would be great to incorporate as well.
I never did that before. You have,
So,
of course, you have your eyes open.
yeah.
So there's nothing to worry about.
Well, there's nothing to worry about, but not to give or take away any importance. Just the present moment action of mindfulness. You can forgive that experience. Maybe sounds a little bit silly, but it's also kind of, oh yeah, I forgive that. It's not that that didn't happen, but I'm not entrenched in that. And it's okay that I experienced that. But not too important. Just continue practice.
Thank you.
Yeah. And our body, even we take good care of our body and we stay in a good environment and we eat healthy food, we can still get sick. We can get really sick. And getting really sick doesn't mean that healthiness is somehow, uh, out of the loop. Health and sickness just go together. So we don't need to be too worried about um, like things that come up in meditation, unless it's this extra layer of instability that goes with it, or complicatedness that goes with it. And that's when we really need to, step back and touch our kindfulness and our gentleness, and make sure that we're not meditating as this kind of struggle, which is not what you're going through. As long as there's a lot of relaxation there, there's a lot of gentleness there and peace there, then you're safe to keep going, keep practicing. Even if there is some difficulty that comes up, you're also safe to keep practicing, but you need more supports, more good conditions to keep practicing, right? So everything sounds good though from what you shared. Yeah, you can keep practicing and keep sharing, updating the group. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna mute because I gotta.
Yeah.
The family had called me, so I gotta respond. Okay, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just gonna mute.
Okay. Thank you, Gloria. Glory, glory, hallelujah. And there's a really a deep lesson in when our meditation does start to deepen and different experiences happen. It gives us a wider view of the capacities of our mind and what it means to be a human being. And we're brought up in a certain way where it's like, okay, you can be a firefighter, or you can be a police officer, or you can be a depressed person, or you can be a happy person, you can be a wealthy person, you can be a poor person. But actually, there are many different expressions of the human mind. There are many different perspectives, right? And a perspective is not like a philosophy that you adopt, but it's where you're seeing from, right? It's deeper than your philosophy or your intellect. So when we start to have deeper insights in our practice, that peace, that kindness, that capacity to forgive, that capacity to be compassionate, right? It shifts us, but we may not necessarily be able to encapsulate that shift into an intellectual way of viewing it or describing it. It's a way of breathing, it's a way of being. It's like you see a monk just walking in lovely mindfulness, peaceful and aware, and each present in each step and each breath. That's not just an exercise or some kind of, like you say, how do you do that? And they can answer. That is their expression, right? That is their nature. And so our minds can also shift and change, and our ways of being will be quite different, right? And we learn how to respect that and nourish that and be open to that. Not just, okay, you're black or you're white, you're wealthy or you're poor, I like you or I don't like you, or you're a monk or you're not. But that stepping back and that widening out of the mind and our perspective to really be more authentic to finding out where we are at, and also allowing that person to share where they are at and finding out what that looks like. And for people who are maybe less experienced or less practiced, that may have a lot more to do with labels or stories or belief systems or appearances, maybe very shallow appearances or shallow perspectives, right? Whereas someone who's more deeply practiced, their mind, their experience at that time may be completely disillusioned from any of that stuff. So how do we interact from that kind of place? How do we start seeing ourselves from that kind of place? We're finding out what it means for us to embody that more clearly, especially in how we relate to ourselves. Okay, a very lovely sharing on TikTok from Foodie. They said, thank the thoughts and let them go. Observe, don't judge, and return to the breath. How about the solicitor, the person who says, hey, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Hey, I'm here to call you out. Thank the thoughts or thank that person and let them go. Observe, aware, don't judge, and return to the breath. Somehow, in dropping that self importance or self fixation or that constant self reification, someone, some place, some time, some experience, some environment, we individuate our self and we free that self as well. And when you do that more and more consistently and deeply, especially in community, we may find that there are new forms that are unusual to us. We have the capacity to experience ourselves or our situation, whatever that might be, with non discriminatory mindfulness, non judgmental mindfulness, non judgmental present moment awareness. And for that to penetrate into this moment, into this experience, right down to our core. And the Sangha is the community that also has the capacity and the willingness to view us, ourselves, in that way, and also situations and experiences. But that doesn't make us kind of empty minded, it makes us compassionate and wise and contemplative, gentle and patient. If we can make the commitment and stay with it just a bit, to be gentle, patient, compassionate with ourselves, forgiving to ourselves through the action of mindfulness, through the actions of doing good deeds, through the actions of attending to our mental actions, our physical actions, our verbal actions, to do more of what we should do and do less of what we shouldn't do, then we won't have many issue or problem. And whatever issue or problem does come up, we will be ready to take care of it and to heal it. Okay, any other question before we finish today? Question or sharing experience? And we do want to emphasize generosity in this community and in this group. Generosity is one of the best ways that we can feel like intertwined, invested, right, involved with the Sangha, not just a spectator, not just someone who watches, but someone who's engaged. And we do practice generosity through our practice, our meditation, but we can also we want to practice generosity with the Sangha, so through giving, through offering. And for many of us, what's quite valuable, what we cling to, is our thoughts, our our position, our kind of maybe self-consciousness. We're a little bit shy. We're a little bit reserved in sharing our question or sharing our experience or sharing our curiosity. So please try, to be open about that. And it's a great rule of thumb that if you have something to share but you're more shy about it, more hesitant about it, that's your nature, that's a really deep gift, right, to offer. And if you are more bold, or always ready to step forward and say something, then even your hesitancy can be an offering. Right? The space can be an offering. When we turn on our cameras, when we share our cameras here, our video, that's an offering. That's a generosity. That's a gift for the Sangha. And there's no push to be generous. It's more like the opportunity is here to be generous. We're not forcing people to practice. We're not putting people through a training regimen, but there's an opportunity here to practice generosity, and that's a joy, especially a joy for me, that I know our community is kind of so engaged, and that when I have the time and the space, I can put an announcement and I can come here and share. That's an opportunity for me to do good deeds, right? For me to offer, and it really does support my life as a monk a lot. So I'm very grateful for that. We have a question from CS on YouTube. And CS says, I have a question. How do I know if I'm meant to be a nun? I struggle with this question for myself. Kasyana. Being a monk or a nun, firstly, is to give up our life as a layperson, to give up our life as a business person, to give up our life as a person in the world, a person who has an apartment, a person who has a home, a person who stays with their family, etc. So that's monastics are called home leavers. And now in the Buddhist world, there are many temples and places to stay, but that first step, that primary step, is being a home leaver, right? Ready to leave home. And that's a spirit we need to carry with us and have very deeply in us to approach monastic life and living as a monk, and in devoting ourselves to the path. And it's very different and kind of anti-Western culture, where the advertisement, the kind of idea is that, okay, we've got all this extra resources in America or all this extra money in the West, and you can have a chance to get that money, and then you can get these nice things and this nice situation, and and watch Amazon Prime on your couch on a big screen TV, whatever, right, or Netflix. So greed is good, right? And I don't know how much this is like in our just, we generally believe that, but it's expressed through our institutions, right? That every human rights issue, every problem is an opportunity for greed. If we want to take care of people with disabilities, that's an opportunity for business people to come in and make as much money as they can. And that's the most informed way to do it, right? If we want to take care of the elderly, it's money, right? We send them to a home, and then that home to make as much money off of their need as is possible. So that greed is our virtue in a certain way. It's our system. Whereas stepping into being a monk is the opposite. You are making the intention to give up everything, to give up your home, to give up your life, to give up your everything. And as Westerners, as people that don't come from a Buddhist society or an Asian society, uh, we don't have a cultural context, most of us, for becoming a monk. So it's less if you are meant to be a nun, and it's more about your aspiration. How deep is that aspiration? How consistent is that aspiration? Um, how much do you value the spiritual path rather than your personal independence, right? How much do you value virtue or following precepts over your actions leading to pleasure or avoiding pain? Right? How do you want to devote your life to meditation? Now, most people who ask this question will not have a meaningful path forward because we're in the West, and especially women. There are just less opportunities for women to become nuns or become monks, probably because of just a global sexist society, over the past thousands of years. But in the Buddha did support and accept women to become monks, but that was revolutionary at his time, and there's less supports for women to become monks, and there's already very few for supports for Westerners to become monks. Very, very few. There are far less Western monks than there are millionaires in the world. Far, far, far less, for sure. And even if you can become a monk, it's very difficult to stay as a monk, maybe especially as a Westerner, because we don't have the cultural background, and we also don't have a lot of supporting structures to help us become monastics or even know where to go or know who to connect with. So just check in with that aspiration, see how deep it is. Know that for you, Kasyana, it is accessible, right? There are routes to move forward. And be ready to try. When we have our youth, and the more our society modernizes and all that, the more youth we tend to have, even as we get into our later years, right? We still have a lot of robustness, a lot of abundance, a lot of health and wealth of body and mind. So, be willing to experiment and try, especially as a young person. Be fearless. And if you're using that fearlessness for doing good deeds, for this aspiration to change your life for the better and help other people, that's wonderful. Don't be shy about that. Don't be shy about leaning into that. Okay. And also, Mildred on YouTube says, when I started doing good deeds and offering out, I was isolated. Now people are drawing to me for conversation or guidance or reassurance. Am I doing something wrong? Nothing is wrong. Nothing is right. just doing only, just experiencing only, just coming back to the present action of mindfulness. If you do good, you feel good. If you do bad, you feel bad. So keep doing good deeds more and more. Detach from the effects, take responsibility for the causes. The more that you can do that, the more rich and lovely your effects will be. But even then, we don't just hang out in that. We come back to the causes. We come back to doing good deeds. We come back to our mindfulness. We come back to grace. We enjoy, we have gratitude for grace. We have gratitude for forgiveness. We have gratitude for peace, rather than just, yes, I'm having pleasure. Oh, yes, I'm able to avoid something, right? Gratitude for peace. Don't worry about doing something wrong or something right. Just come back to being mindful and doing only and experiencing only. It's a life, not a moment, not an experience, not a particular situation. And when people come to us for conversation or guidance or reassurance, we need to be careful to interact with them from a place of mindfulness, from a place of deep listening, from a place of generosity. We have to know how to, there's a model for this called grace, and it's about grounding yourself, realizing what the situation is. Let me pull it up. Grace model. Okay, practicing grace. So it's a simple model. G is gathering attention when we have to deal with people's suffering or their needs. Gathering attention, focus, grounding, balance. And I'll share the link to this article with everyone. Then recalling our intention. What's our intention in interacting with this person? Why are we here? Why are we going to help them, right? What's our intention right now? Then attuning to self and other. Don't appropriate other people's suffering. It's going to be a nightmare for you, and it's probably going to cause issues for them as well, because you're not acting from a real balanced place. So attuning to self and other. Where am I at? Where are they at? Okay. Are you lying sick in the bed with some major illness? No, you're not. So that's not your suffering. Attenuate to self and other. What's the situation? Now considering what will serve. At that moment, what can you do that will bring benefit, that will help? Number 5, engaging. Engaging means enactment and ending. We have to know how to end. We have to know how to finish. Engage, help, serve, and end. We're not getting involved in these just constant interpersonal relationships. We are using the power of doing good deeds and mindfulness to deepen the relationship with our true self and all the different aspects of that, right? The child within us, the anger in us, the fear in us, the strength in us, the weakness in us, and deepening our relationship with ourselves. That's where we really nourish ourselves, with our mindfulness, with our generosity. So I hope that can be helpful, and I'll share the link to this article. I recommend anyone in the service field to read this and study it a little bit, because it can be really helpful. I've used it a lot in the past. A question from Jules, all right, on YouTube. Jules said, do you believe people take advantage of people who are always willing to give out? I like pointing this out. I like this question. Generosity is not submissiveness to the desires of other people. Generosity has nothing to do with being walked on. It has nothing to do with being manipulated. It has nothing to do with someone else's capacity to control you or bring you into something. And you need to know generosity as that. There are subtle forms of generosity, and there are more general or gross forms of generosity. Gross versus subtle. The gross is that you share your possession with someone, or you make a donation with someone, or you help someone with something. You help them dig out a basement. You help them redo their home or fix something. The most subtle is widening out your self-fixation, your consciousness to expand beyond the body and the mind. Detachment, right? Giving away, offering out, forgiving everything, everyone in all directions, sharing out grace, sharing out peace, all right? When we meditate, this is a kind of generosity. We're giving up, we're giving away, we're offering out, not to anyone in particular. There's also a practical side of generosity. And the monk life is kind of the combination between those two, because the Buddha, was this extreme ascetic and it became enlightened, sat under the Bodhi tree, and then every day after he was fully enlightened and everywhere he went, he was just luminous with compassion and wisdom and kindness and just impacting everyone everywhere. And every day, or when he needed to eat, he walked through the village as a beggar. And as monks, we still do that. So as monks, we're very aware of that dana, sila, samadhi, panya, how these things go together. So the most subtle form of generosity, like the Buddha's enlightenment, and then also being fed every day through, people donating and putting food in our bowls. That's where we live. Even established temples like the one that I'm staying at, even though I'm sure they have resources, they have the value of the property or whatever, but all of it's just through donation. It's just through the offerings that people give. And if they didn't have that, if the temple didn't have that, the monks wouldn't be able to survive and the temple wouldn't be able to grow and develop. So always actions of generosity from this place of mindfulness and from this place of independence, this place of giving away, finishing, ending. It's like we offer out a resolution. And it is intense. And the more we practice like that, right, we will find ourselves in a tenderness or a vulnerability. And that's when we need to, take our own hand and put our hand on our own heart and realize that our capacity to heal or to be at peace or to be free or to end suffering is not out there. It's only the Buddha in you that has any importance. This is just a mirror. And don't be too seriousness and not being too serious are, but we should, both are really important. So we do need to be serious about our practice and our way of life. You've got to be serious about it or you're just going to waffle. You're just going to float around, right? But once you start to practice seriously, it's very, very important that you learn to not take yourself too seriously so that you know how to put yourself down. You know how to put your worries down. You know how to put your complicatedness down. You know how to put your clinging down, right? It's like we lose something. We lose something that's valuable to us. And then we start to think, where is it? What's going on? How do I get this back? What happened to it? Right? And now we're using all this energy to what? Water seeds of fear, water seeds of anxiety, water seeds of paranoia or control. And for what? For this thing that we don't even really need. So we need to know how to not take that so seriously, mentally and materially. So what? I'm a failure. I'm a loser. I didn't win, or I lost this, or everything's falling apart. Well, that's what life is, right? Everything falls apart. I guess that's okay. I'm having a breakdown. I'm losing myself. Well, that's okay. I'm not perfect. That's okay. My partner or my friend isn't perfect. I don't fully understand them, right? There's a relationship there. I can't really get a hang on. They're different from me. So what? Just sit down and have tea. Just, be, they say be normal, but I don't think that's good to be normal, but be mindful and be, be fresh and be gentle and open and relax. Sometimes we will need to face things and process them and not have a good capacity to deal with it. So when that happens, we've got to have faith in our ability to relax and our ability to be at peace. So that even though that's like unfolding and really difficult, that there's some trust we can offer to that. There's some little remembering of our liberation that we can offer to that, so that we can be with it and we can understand it more clearly rather than just falling into that coping mechanism, falling into the glass of wine or the unskillful relationship with technology or with someone, or with overconsumption, any form of overconsumption or overstimulation. There can be this drive to fix or to solve or to fire or to blame, or like this is a really big deal, or to punish. This is an emergency. Well, maybe it is an emergency, and maybe a little bit of gentleness and softness and peace is exactly what that emergency needs. A little bit of mindfulness is exactly what that feeling, that thought, that stuckness, that situation needs. Okay, so Kayla on YouTube, and maybe this will be our last question before we finish. Kayla Soto says, what's enlightenment like? I'm striving towards it, but I worry that when I become enlightened, I won't feel a desire to maintain certain things or build financial stability unless life necessitates it. Okay? So let's say enlightenment is peace. Let's say enlightenment is the end of suffering. Let's say enlightenment is the end of a fever. Now, when you're in the fever, when you're in the sickness, it's really miserable. You want it to end. But before you got sick, well, what's being sick really? Unless you get sick often. Some people do, right? But it's like, well, I'd like to be sick, because then I can take a rest. I can relax. I don't have to do anything. But then once you get sick, you find out why they call it sickness. Because you're sick. But after the sickness, you forget about it. There's a relief, but you aren't sick anymore, so no big deal. Let's see enlightenment as this state of complete relief, coolness, freshness, the ending of the fever, the breaking of the striving, the desire, the fear. Go ahead, Morgan.
Oh, I wasn't wanted to go ahead and let you finish first before.
Well, that's then, this is now, so let's go.
Okay. I wanted to put in put out the idea of letting a furry friend into your home just for the uh, sake of generosity during the cold weather, and also how much they can be a practice in kindfulness and metta and um, because my cat has been like every day a reminder of um, kindfulness and it's mm, I, uh, I don't know.
Only don't know. What a relief, right? So it's good, right? There are a lot of different ways that we can do good deeds. There are a lot of different ways we can express generosity, but it should be wisdom informed, detachment informed. So when we take care of the furry animal, if it is in a limited way, then this is very strong to develop attachment or wrong view of permanent, right? When we understand that that furry friend is impermanent, right, by its nature. And it's really only because you do in a limited way that it's more danger to get stuck in the wrong view. Because if you were taking care of many furry friend, you will know that a part of taking care like that is many sickness, many death, many old age that they go through, right? Even the kitten, even the baby. So just try to plant those seeds of recognition, right, in those interactions, and how that recognition of impermanence doesn't need to create like a fear or anxiety, but that it's natural, right? That all formations are impermanent. All formations are expressions of interbeing, interconnectedness.
And that's one of the things I find in my practice with my cat is that I am reminded almost daily. I'll look at him and I'll think, one time, at some point, one of us is going to die. And we'll have to say goodbye then. And you think, on what scale, does my love for my cat fall on? Mm, there's, you've heard of the near and far enemies of the Brahma Viharas, right? One of them being metta, the far one being like hatred, and the near enemy being of infatuation or,
Right. Right.
adoration. Well, that's one of the things that's made me, Sundog, my cat, has made me realize is where it's made me more aware of the difference between loving kindness and, you know, adoration. Loving kindness and what that truly means, and not just what I think it means.
All formations are impermanent.
All formations are impermanent, and that's okay. That's why we recognize that attachment or infatuation or grasping is rooted in wrong view. It's rooted in selfishness, right? Because even, what was your cat's name?
Sundog.
Sundog, yeah, that's
It's
right.
yeah.
So even Sundog doesn't want you to be depressed and anxious, and Sundog, I'm sure, knows that, or impermanence, innately knows impermanence, right? Animals have innate kind of understanding of, their loved one, their baby maybe passes away, they have to keep going. They kill, right? Sundog's probably going around eating a bunch of squirrels, so he knows impermanence. So Sundog doesn't want you to suffer because of impermanence. And when we express our friendliness, our care, our love from a place of generosity rather than self-fixation, we are safe. Now, we already have that tendency towards infatuation or attachment or grasping. So that's going to be there, and we'll need to deal with the effect of that, right? But we can practice generosity quite sincerely and deeply and regularly to offset that, right? And somehow that gives us a distance, right? You offer to Sundog rather than the kind of interpersonal or expectation that you get from that interaction, right? You respect Sundog as an expression of interbeing rather than a separate self entity that another separate self entity, Morgan, is in relationship with, but seeing Sundog as an expression of interbeing, right? As an expression of everything. Okay, so we'll finish here. Maybe we'll finish with a metta practice. So I invite everyone to bring their hands together and repeat after me these words of loving friendliness, starting with towards ourselves. May I be well, happy, and at peace.
Happy and at peace.
May those who are nearby me be well, happy, and at peace.
May
May those who are nearby me be well, be happy, be at peace.
May those that are far from me be well, happy, and at peace.
may all that
Those who are
are away from me,
May all beings be well, happy, and at peace.
may all beings be happy and
May all the merits or good effects from good deeds that we have done be offered and shared out towards all beings. May all beings rejoice and share in the merits of our good deeds. May those in Israel, Palestine, though not physically near to us, may they be well, happy, and at peace. May they be free from their sufferings. May the peace and well-minded community of our Sangha in some small way offer out our safety, our community, our mindfulness to all those in war. May it be, may it be,
may
may it truly be.
it truly be.
Sadhu.
Sadhu.
Sadhu. Sadhu. Okay, thank you, dear Sangha, for being here with me. Look forward
Thank you.
to practice together again soon.
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Good evening.
There are things subjected to birth and death, but when the notions of death and birth are released, the silence is the highest joy and peace. All formations are impermanent. They are things subjected to birth and death. But when the notions of death and birth are released, the silence is the highest joy and peace. All formations are impermanent.